After completing the Red Centre Way, we turned onto the Lassiter Highway towards Yulara. And it doesn't take long before you see it. But your first thought will probably be, it looks a little different from the pictures you've seen. It's got steep sides and a surprisingly flat top. However, this is actually Attila, or Mount Connor, with some even calling it Uluru for precisely this reason. But anyway, it seemed right in a way to head out there. While the Canning Stock route is the once-in-a-lifetime bucket list trip for many four-wheel drivers, for a lot of the normal population it's to see Uluru. While it definitely counts as firmly on the beaten track, despite the somewhat remote location, I'd never done it, and we were in the area. Having spent the past few weeks camping, we decided to splash out and stay at Yulara's most expensive hotel, Sails in the Desert. There's a definite shortage of car parking near the hotel, and it seemed a touch ironic that we had to carry our luggage a few hundred meters to our room, whereas in the cheaper places we'd have been parked right outside. But enough about that, there's something much more important to go and find. Around the corner it slowly peeks out from behind the trees. And then there it is. Unlike Attila, Uluru looks strikingly exactly like you'd expect. We turn into the sunset viewing area. The sun sets, and the colour changes over Uluru, and we head back to the resort. Not even being able to park next to the hotel this time, the following day we walk back to the vehicle and head out to the other major attraction, Kata Tjuta, also known as Mount Olga or the Olgas. The name of Kata Tjuta is Pidgin Jatjara for many heads, and this is certainly what it resembles. We embark upon the Valley of the Winds walk into the middle of the rock formation. It is certainly the much lesser visited half of the park. Few of the tour bus crowd comes out here, which is a shame because it's a strikingly beautiful place, if just a little less well known than The Rock. The other walk on offer here is Walper Gorge, a massive deep gorge between two immense rocks. After that, it's back to the resort for fuel, and then past the IGA to grab supplies and admire the size of their lawn care selection. A noodle place that's only open for dinner. Now that's an interesting idea. And then have lunch at the one place that's open. Following that, onwards to Uluru. It starts off small, but pretty soon it grows intimidatingly big in the windscreen. And then we start the walk. There are a number of caves, many containing indigenous artwork. and indeed some parts of Uluru are particularly sacred, and there are signposts asking you not to photograph them. We continue on around the rock, reaching the spot where the controversial track that once climbed the rock was. The scar is fading, but it's certainly still visible. A little further around, we reach a number of caves. First, the teaching cave. Then the men's cave. A little further round the rock we reach the kitchen cave, where the women taught the girls to prepare bush food. And around the corner from that we have the old people's cave, whose job it was to ensure that the women and children didn't enter the men's area. Which is an interesting job for them, considering they're around the corner out of sight of all of the others. But there is always water if you know how to find it. Continuing on around the back of Uluru, the walk gets quite lonely and desolate. The original airstrip exists adjacent to this path, but little trace of it still remains, certainly nothing that can be seen from ground level. The shade sets in and the sun is going down. The temperature drops, and we jump in the car to head to Kata Tjuta for the sunset. Getting back to the resort well after dark, we go in search of food, arriving at the noodle place shortly before it closes.
You know, the name Superior Room really reminds me of Keeping Up Appearances. If you know of Hyacinth Bouquet, oh Richard, please do remember to tell people we stayed in the Superior Room. The shower is particularly nice, but the bathroom was designed by someone who did forget the third rule of civil engineering. Water flows downhill. The car park is of course next to Yulara Sewer Pump Station number 2, which is very appropriately named, and a good description of how the area around this car park smells.
It's not that it's a bad room, it's certainly an acceptable room. It's just that for $600 a night, you'd want a bit more than acceptable. And for housekeeping not to take all of your towels and forget to give you any new ones. Which is a little inconvenient when you say, discover this right after stepping out of the shower. After checking out, there's one more thing I'm going to do. Take a look at the resort's central lookout. Does it exist solely to separate the expensive side from the cheap side? Or can we actually see some things from it? Here, the mobile phone tower, carefully constructed to be the exact height of the surrounding dunes, lest it accidentally provide any coverage to anywhere outside the resort. You can kinda see Kata Tjuta from here. The cop shop and fire station are around that way. The campground is up there. The solar farm is in this direction. And the big rock is over there. But funnily enough, I think a lot of the pictures of Uluru I've seen have been taken from this perspective. Notice how the rock looks a little flatter, not quite so tall as you can't quite see the base. I'm thinking that's because they were taken from right here. Failing to locate anywhere that was actually open for lunch today, it seems lunch isn't really a big thing at this resort given all the tour buses would all be out, and by this point we were quite aware that this seemed to be what everything was explicitly designed around. Sure, a few places were open, but what you were getting was either out of the fridge or if it was hot, out of the microwave. Leaving the resort, we drove back down the Lassiter Highway until it reached the Stewart Highway, and at this corner you find the Eldunda Roadhouse. Describing itself as the centre of the centre, and being only about 120 kilometres from the true Lambert centre of Australia, it's certainly not far off the mark. Famous for its emu enclosures, we check them out, then head south, towards South Australia. We hit the border, and as we leave the Northern Territory behind, so too we leave its 130 km/h speed limit, reduced to the rest of Australia's 110. Continuing south, where will we head to next? Join us next time to find out, and until then, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and see you next time.